The 4-minute mile, a barrier which seemed impossible to surpass by most. But one man on May 6, 1954, at the Oxford University track broke this barrier with an astounding time of 3:59.4, redefining the limits of track and field forever. His name was Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister was born into a middle-class family on March 23, 1929, in Harrow, Middlesex, England. As a child, Roger Bannister exhibited talent for running at a very young age. When his family moved to Bath, England, during World War II, this gave Bannister the opportunity to run to school every day. He was also a very studious child who had many aspirations in life. These aspirations and his studious nature, as well as his talent in running, led to him earning a scholarship to Oxford University. During his time at Oxford University, he studied medicine and went on to further his studies at St. Mary's Medical School, all the while participating at major and minor track and field meets. Bannister highly valued his education, once saying, "As soon as I ceased to be a student, I always knew I would stop being an athlete." At Oxford, he attracted the British press with both his 1500-meter run as well as the mile. As both a dedicated runner and student, he had to find an effective way to train so that it would enhance his performance on the track while consuming little time in his studies and school. Due to this, he only trained for 45 minutes a day while using new methods of training for the time, by incorporating longer runs and improving on his running mechanics while also using the common interval training method of the time. The new way of training that he used greatly improved his performance and helped him surpass his competition, while also aiding in his unbelievable feat of breaking the 4-minute mile. Although he was attracting the press for his running talents, Bannister declined running in the 1948 Olympics, even though his 4:24 mile was considerable. He instead focused on continuing his training and medical studies. The training paid off. During the 1951 season, he won the British Mile and declared he was ready for the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki, Finland. At the 1952 Olympics, Bannister came up short of a medal, 4th place, due to an added semi-final heat to the 1500-meter run. Bannister trained for 2 heats, so the added heat was a strain on his endurance. Disappointed, Bannister decided to train for the magical sub-4 mile. Bannister continued his unorthodox approach, which drew criticism from the press and was eager to break the barrier. Leading up to the day that Bannister broke 4, the record for the 1 mile had been dropping every couple of months or years until July 17, 1945, when Gunder Haig ran 4:01.4 to set a new world record. After this, the world record stayed stagnant for almost 9 years until Roger Bannister broke it on May 6, 1954. During the almost 9-year-long period, attempts had been made to break the world record, but all failed. Due to this, many people began to think it was impossible for a human to break the 4-minute mile. Later, the public opinion slowly started to change once the runners and rivals, John Landy and Roger Bannister, came into view. Both Landy and Bannister were very close to breaking the 4-minute mile. This led to a great rivalry between them, which helped push them to become faster and faster. Eventually, on May 6, 1954, Roger Bannister, with the help of his 2 pacemakers, Chris Brasher and Chris Chataway, he broke the 4-minute mile. Many said that in order to break the barrier, the conditions would have to be perfect. The ideal situation was a moderate temperature, a huge crowd with a hard clay track. However, Bannister broke 4 on a windy, cold day, with a small crowd of only a couple thousand. Bannister did the feat with lap splits of 58, 60, 62, and just under 59 seconds for each 440 yards. Bannister triumphantly collapsed into the crowd after achieving what was thought to be impossible. Bannister was immediately celebrated in England. His fellow St. Mary's students congratulated him the day after the feat. Bannister even met with the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, congratulating Bannister on his success. All of England was proud of Bannister's accomplishments. After Roger Bannister completed this seemingly impossible task, many people began to question what is or what is not possible by humans. This led to many great leaps in improvement throughout track and field. Only 46 days after the historic race at Oxford University, the profound runner and rival of Bannister, John Landy, broke Bannister's record with a 3:57.9 and became the second person to ever break the 4-minute mile. As the months went by, the 4-minute mile was repeatedly broken many times. One of the most astounding instances of this was during the so-called Miracle Mile, where John Landy and Roger Bannister raced neck and neck to both break the 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister came in first, due to John Landy looking over his left shoulder while Bannister passed him on the right. This historic race is seen as one of the most well-known in history and is still talked about to this day. Over the next few years, the 4-minute mile would be broken and the mile record would be lowered numerous times by various runners. An example of this can be seen just 8 years after Bannister broke the psychological barrier, when the world record was lowered to 3:54.1 by Peter Snell. The drastic improvements of the world record demonstrate just how important it was for the barrier to be broken. Nowadays in the running world, the 4-minute mile has been broken over 1,497 times. The once thought impossible task of breaking 4 is now seen as a goal that many college athletes strive to accomplish. In the past 5 years, an astounding number of 119 American athletes have broken 4, while a large percentage of those Americans are college athletes who have achieved their goals of breaking 4. These days, even some of the most elite high schoolers are taking on the challenge of the 4-minute mile, with some succeeding in surpassing what was once thought impossible. The most recent high school runner to do so is Reed Brown. Brown ran a 3:59.3 in the mile and became the 10th high schooler to ever break 4 minutes.
Rory Hunter coming strong. Reed Brown trying to hang on. I think he might do it here. Trying to kick hard. He is just gonna do it. He did it. Reed Brown becomes the 10th high schooler all time to break 4 minutes. Let's look at the clock.
The current world record has been lowered to 3:43.13, set by Hisham El Garouj. These great accomplishments within the mile event in track and field show just how far people have come ever since that day on May 6, 1954, when Roger Bannister broke 4 and redefined the human limits in track and field. There is no doubt that the sub-4 mile would have eventually been accomplished. However, Bannister was the first to do so, forever cementing his legacy. Bannister soon retired after breaking the 4-minute mile and continued to work on neuroscience. He was knighted in 1975, and Bannister passed away at the age of 88, but his legacy lives on. The true essence of Sir Roger Bannister can be stated in a quote by the man himself. "We run, not because we think it is doing us good, but because we enjoy it and cannot help ourselves. The more restricted our society and work become, the more necessary it will be to find some outlet for this craving for freedom. No one can say, you must not run faster than this or jump higher than that. The human spirit is indomitable." Bannister did something that redefined the labels of what was achievable and will forever be remembered.